me today is the fabulous Lisa Corduff. She's a blogger, and she's also the creator of Small Steps, which is a wonderful journey to whole food with fantastic recipes, themes over the weeks. It's just a beautiful program. Hello, Lisa. How are you?
Hello, Alexx. Thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome. It was such an amazing thing to be a part of that program, and I'll be giving everybody some links if they want to join you on the next round. But today, I guess what I want to talk to you about is this journey that people are making. My course is really about shaping the world as well as your health, preventative health, really demystifying some of the confusion. And I think you do that in a beautiful way, emulating from your slightly chaotic life with three kids under 4, not 4 kids under 3. That would be even more chaotic.
Wow. That is, yes, I had twins.
So how did you come to be doing this, what you do today?
Oh, Alexx, like a lot of people, I think my journey started when I had my son.
Yeah.
And I just started to think, do I even know what healthy food is? I've created this beautiful, perfect human, and now I want him to continue in a really healthy way.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? So I actually ended up studying at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I won a scholarship to study there, which was very generous. But it didn't really teach me it's supposed to make you a health coach. I didn't really feel like a health coach. I felt like taking other people's health in my hands was a pretty big deal. So all I started to do was just, look, there's so many different ways to eat, as you know, so many different dietary theories. Give the girl some apple. I just decided to go back to eating real food. Yeah. I just thought, can I do that? Is it possible to get rid of packets out of my house to just eat basic food? And that started off my journey. And it's been all these little things along the way, like going to my first farmer's market. It was so daunting. I was so intimidated.
Yeah.
But I wanted to start purchasing my food from growers.
And isn't that hilarious that we might feel like that we've been built into a world where we feel going to a farmer's market is daunting, yet going into a multi-aisled, bright, shining lights. Like if you think about what a supermarket actually is, shouldn't that be the thing that's daunting? I mean, how far from nature have we gone? So interesting.
But I think the reason why I think that people follow me is because I am a person who grew up with Lamington fingers in my lunchbox and a little fun-sized packet of chips.
Oh,
and
me too. Pop-Tarts. I was the first kid with Pop-Tarts and roll-ups.
You were not.
I was.
No.
That was status.
I'm going to tweet that, Alexx Stewart. But do you know what? That is the world that I grew up in. I was an 80s child. My mum started working when we all got to primary school. Things got busy. My first job was at Macca's, and I worked at Wendy's too. I've been there. I absolutely know how hard it is to start thinking differently about food.
Yeah.
So that's really something clicked over for me, and that's what I try to help with other people. And I know you do that too.
So what are some of your favourite tips on keeping this whole homemade thing that we're all trying to transition towards doing way more often appealing and achievable, and especially obviously being a mum, adding that component in, appealing to your kids?
Yes, kids. So hard. So very hard. I think some of my first tips, I created Small Steps because I do think that everyone I know, you included, amazing people like Joe from Quirky Cooking, everyone had to start somewhere and just choose one thing to change. And Jude Bluro, who's like one of my absolute guiding lights.
Guru, yeah.
Love her. I want to be her. And she talks about just choose one thing. So maybe it might be bread. Maybe it might be where you source your food. Maybe it might be trying to soak nuts and seeds, something, one little thing, tiny thing. And it might even just be breakfast. How can I do this differently, made from real food? And I really, truly stress that I am still not perfectly there. Yeah. And once I've nailed something, I feel okay to move on. And I think that that's the way most people are. Once you've kind of experienced something, you've put it on the table, your kids have eaten it, you think, oh, that's just another tick. That's another something that's going to be going on my menu plan for the next year until the next week when they don't like it anymore. But I do find it hard sometimes with the kids, only because they go through such different phases with food, don't they? At the moment, mine don't like things mixed up. Mm-hmm. So doing beautiful stir fries or stews or things, not so much into. Mm-hmm. But if I cut up carrot and cucumber and sausage or steak or sweet potato, we just live for, then they'll happily kind of eat it. But my mantra that I always think about is this real? Mm. And how real is this food? If it's as close to real as possible, then I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
And that's where I encourage all my small steppers to start, is to just start looking at food a little bit more critically. Mm. And you know what? I look to people like you. I look to people who are doing the further research. I look and see what's out there and what's new. But most of the time, we eat pretty plain food.
Yeah.
You know, anyone with toddlers understands it can't get too fancy. Mm. But things that we all still enjoy.
Yeah, awesome. And Small Steps, it's a 8-week program, am I right? Yeah.
Yes, it is 8 weeks at the moment. Might change. I created it basically because I wanted people to remember that it can be really simple to eat real food.
And dangerous.
Right. Yeah. I probably shouldn't be giving the baby an apple.
Oh, don't worry. I used to feel like I got a really good 20 minutes of concentrating on something out if I gave Sebastian a carrot, a whole big uncut carrot, and just.
I know she's got 4 bottom teeth. She's loving it.
Oh, brilliant.
So Small Steps. You know, we talk about eggs. Like, eggs are such a great food, and there's a million different ways that you can use them, and I feel like we've kind of just forgotten, because we tell ourselves things like it's too expensive to eat real food, I don't have enough time to eat real food, the kids won't eat it, all these sorts of things stand in our way from actually just having a go and just starting. And so that's what Small Steps is about. I definitely don't say, you know, you're going to change your life and lose 10 kilos.
But I think it's really interesting what you just said about what we tell ourselves. And I always encourage people to dig a tiny bit deeper whenever you say something like that. So I tell myself X, Y, Z. Well, why do I tell myself those things? Turns out it's food marketers that told us those things so many times that we started to believe that as truth.
Fast food.
Yeah.
Fast food is just, we've just been told that we don't have time to cook a meal for our family. So don't worry, we will do it for you.
Yeah.
You can even drive through. You don't even have to get out of your car. Isn't it just that spin on things?
Total spin. And I really love that I used to be a marketer, not in the food industry, but just as bad, I guess, cosmetics, full of chemicals. Because I think, there's just so much that we tell ourselves because someone else is telling us that. And it just becomes your psyche. So crazy. So Small Steps is all about decoding, deconstructing, and rebuilding in a really simple, beautiful way.
Yeah, and speaking to people like you. So people who've helped me on my journey, because I certainly don't know everything, but I know the people who know everything. Like you. And I really try and break that information down for people. Yeah. There is so much on Google, and most of us have kind of gone through our journey, but I like the community aspect, and there are absolute superstars here in Australia who are doing amazing things to help us eat more real food.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky, aren't we? Inspiration everywhere. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my little portion or my little contribution.
Yeah, no, it's not little. It's good.
Well, getting massive.
It's amazing.
But I think I get it from the perspective of people who don't really have much time and who are trying to juggle so much. But, you know, there's that voice in our head that's like, this isn't okay anymore. And I know that I could be doing better, but I feel a bit frightened.
Okay, so you feel frightened sometimes maybe as Lisa Corduff. So we're going to stop being an educator for a second, move into just being a girl with a few kids, daily life in community. I find, and I'm sure you do too, it can be so depressing when you're standing at the cafe, maybe you're going to have a juice or a little coffee one morning, and you see parents giving their kids, and this is not a judgment thing on the parents. We only know what we know before we start to dig deeper, but a cupcake at 8:30 in the morning is not normal, and nor should it become normalised. Especially not with bright blue icing and some strange jube on top that comes from God knows where. And then there's the parties, and you see the sea of additive-laden food and supermarkets and the trolleys that some people still, obviously the majority still have. So how do you, as someone in your community, help affect change on a day-to-day basis? How do you deal with how depressing it is to know what real food is and how great it is for your family and yourself, and then be out there?
You know, I reckon it's the hardest thing, because there are times when I wish I didn't know, because it's so much easier to live in ignorance. Once your eyes do open, it can get really, really overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at all sorts of things. I mean, it's really just, real food is really just the tip of the iceberg. And I know, like, your low tox living course, I mean, there's so much out there. It's hard for me because I'm sort of at that point where we don't have any intolerances in our family. So if my daughter doesn't do so well on dairy, but she can cope if she goes to a birthday party and has dairy. And I've found it hard because since I've been doing this work, there's people who are like, I could never have you over for dinner, or like, at my birthday party there's going to be fairy bread, so just be prepared. And I think I'm not judging you, and I cannot stop my children having it. I just, you know, they're still that really kind of young to really understand, no, don't go near those beautiful shiny packets of things. It's a journey that is evolving in my family. I'm finding it hard, and I do get upset. I do sometimes go to the supermarket and look at trolleys and think it's actually a lovely reflection on how far I've come, because at the end of the day, all I want to ever control or change is what's going on with my family and what's going into their tummies. But and I guess that's why I create small steps, and I'm not totally hardcore, because life's too short, you know, to be. I can't be strict. It's just not in my nature. And I've just come off being pregnant 3 times in 4 years, and there were some dodgy things that I ate in my pregnancies, that's for sure. But I just think my advice to people would be, who might be facing the same things, is don't be hard on yourself. The toxic thoughts that you've got about food and the guilt that you might feel around doing certain things is probably worse. And not 100%. To create fear for your children, just give them better alternatives and start to talk to them from a really young age. My son now says, is this healthy, Mum? The other day he said, is ice cream healthy? Because we don't really have it. And if he has it, it's sort of a sorbet that I've made from home. And I said, it's not actually really healthy. Sometimes that stuff makes your teeth fall out, makes your tummy feel a bit yucky. And he's like, yeah, all right. And he still will love ice cream, and we will still have an ice cream when we go to the beach or whatever. But it's not all the time. He understands that these things are only occasional foods. I seriously don't know if I've answered your question, Alexx. Because now I'm just rambling, but I really just wanted to say to people, it's hard for me. And or my contribution to the community is small steps. It's getting people to take that first step, giving them information, education and ideas so that they don't have to be caught in that trap. And I talk to my friends all the time, and I bring healthy things, and kids often don't eat them because I don't put like sugar icing on stuff. I just don't do it. I don't feel like I have to.
No. I think you've mentioned it a couple of times, and to finish off, the key thing is whatever stage you're at or whatever way you're influencing or relating to people who maybe haven't gone down the real food journey yet. I'm going to use the word yet because I'm a total idealist, thinking that everyone eventually will once they realise, but is that guilt is toxic. Guilt is toxic if you're feeling guilt towards what's happening with your kids or what's happening with your friend, or making your friend feel guilty, or them making you feel guilty for depriving. All of those things, no good. So if we're really going to make change, we have to approach it from a welcoming and inspiring example kind of way. Like, this is really working for us. That's the reason I'm doing it, not for any other reason. Rather than, oh, you don't even know where that stuff comes, and guilt and all of that kind of negative emotion is not going to be the way to make this a happy, successful journey for anybody.
I absolutely, totally, 100% agree. And food is joyful.
It is. And it's so joyful. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I just try to be an example of someone who can bring food to a party and people go, oh my God, this is delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a raw cheesecake. You didn't even know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's you. And they're like, oh.
Done. We got one.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Exactly. We can only do what we can do, really.
Exactly. So it's been wonderful talking to you, and while I'm looking extremely calm at the end of our interview, I have 6 minutes to run down the road and pick up my son from his very first day of school ever. So
don't cry.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I'll put the details of your next intake up so that everybody can join who's curious and wants to jump on board.
Yes.
I will see you soon, no doubt, on the interwebs, and thanks again.
Love your work, Alexx. Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye.